You love a News at Prime. Thanks for joining us tonight. President Cyril Ramaphosa's appearance before the impeachment inquiry against the public protector is still subject to certain criteria within the terms of reference for the hearings. That's according to the Section 194 Committee co-chair, Richard Dyantyi. Political parties have called on Parliament to summon the President to testify under oath. Newzroom Afrika is live for us in Cape Town tonight with the latest. Athi, it's a growing bone of contention, especially when we look at part of what is being said by those not necessarily from within the ANC's quarters, but certainly without.
Yes, Kathy, let me begin by saying that this particular Section 194 committee has a list of 24 witnesses that will be called to appear before it. You would have seen the first two giving their testimony before the committee, and everything that they were discussing is in relation to the so-called SARS Rogue Unit report that was then subsequently challenged and taken on review by Minister Pravin Gordhan. And so it is at the backdrop of some of the revelations that came out from the courts, and as far as the interpretation of the public protectors, the way in which the public protector interprets law, it is at the back of some of those allegations against the public protector coming from the ranks of the Democratic Alliance, for example, saying that the public protector has been erring in her investigations and how she conducts herself as one that is supposed to uphold the values and the ethics within the office of the public protector. And so in the next couple of months, Kathy, until September, that's when this committee is hoping to conclude its work, where it will be putting forward recommendations and findings before the National Assembly, where they'd potentially move to a vote. And I do want to also mention that public protector's legal representation advocate Dyantyi even went as far as to say that when that happens, they want it to be done by means of secret ballot. But then again, going back to the issue of the witnesses and the calls that are mounting for President Cyril Ramaphosa to appear before the committee continue. But I had a conversation with the chairperson of the committee, Richard Dyantyi, who says there's a rigorous process that would need to be undertaken by the committee to ensure that any witness that is called before the committee is one that's going to meet the criteria for the terms of reference, which again speak to the issues pertaining to the public protector, the charges that are issued or that are leveled against the public protector, pardon me. And so I'd like us to listen to what he had to say, because in not so many words, he didn't want to say that they would call the president or they wouldn't call the president to appear. He says that the legal representation for the public protector does have that room to add on to the 24 witnesses that will be called to come and give oral evidence before the committee. Let's listen to what Richard Dyantyi had to say.
As a committee, we already have about 24 witnesses that we have identified. The public protector team is making requests about wanting to add a few names. On that, we'll wait and hear what those are, but all of that has got to be fitting into the process that we define.
Of course, one of the big questions that the committee will have to answer, even if it decides to call the president, is whether or not it constitutes part of its terms of reference, and if there's a case for the president to actually answer a contribution that he has to make.
The president has outright said that he doesn't have a case to answer before the hearings, because if then the legal representation for Advocate Mkhwebane is bringing up issues like the suspension, which is a bone of contention within the discussions, then it was within his rights and it was within his powers as the head of state to actually then implement a suspension on the public protector, because there are these hearings that are currently taking place to actually probe her fitness to hold office. He went as far as to cite the Constitution. And then also at the backdrop of the suggestions that have been made by Bantu Holomisa, bringing up the issue of the CR17 campaigns, going as far as to say that they need to further look at whether the funds that were used for the CR17 campaign were not taken from state funds. The president says that that issue has been dealt with by the courts, but Bantu Holomisa is arguing that regardless of what the courts have said, they still need to hear from the president under oath within these hearings to hear from him exactly in as far as the monies that were used for the CR17 campaign. And then you also had today, Kathy, Julius Malema from the EFF, the leader of the EFF, coming out to say that the suspension of the public protector came right at the back of her requesting answers from the president, issuing him questions to answer to pertaining to the Phala Phala farm robbery incident, similarly to the utterances and the argument that has been coming up by Public Protector's senior legal counsel advocate Dalimpofu. So it's at the backdrop of all of that MPs within, of course, some of these political parties within the National Assembly calling on the president to come and appear. But it remains to be seen, Kathy, because in not so many words, again, the chairperson of the committee says it would be something that they would need to discuss and make sure that the criteria to call the president meets the terms of reference for the committee. But again, the legal representation for Advocate Mkhwebane will add its own witnesses that it wants to cross-examine before these hearings. They even, made mention of the former president potentially coming to appear before the hearings.
All right. Athi Mtongana, we'll leave it there for tonight.